Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Demo Live. This is a podcast that is recorded live on YouTube from Monday to Friday at 9:30 p.m. Today is Wednesday, September 7th, 2022. Oddly enough, also the day on which the Bharat Jodo Yatra is starting from Kanyakumari, and it's something that I'm quite hopeful about. If you like, we can talk about it. If you don't like, we can talk about other things because that is what we do on this show. We talk about things that are on and around and happening and going on. If you are listening to this live on YouTube, the channel is youtube.com/Vemo Live, and you're live in the chat. There are a bunch of people live in the chat, and I'll get to the comments reasonably soon. But before that, I'll just remind you that if you're listening to this at a later point of time on audio, you are probably doing it on Spotify, Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, Ghana.com, JioSaavn, etc. If you are doing that, A, thank you. B, leave a rating or a review on the app that you're listening on because that helps the podcast. And also share the episode with a friend of yours or an acquaintance of yours and tell them to subscribe to the podcast or at least listen to a couple of episodes before they make up their mind because that is how podcasts spread. Social media does jack shit for podcasts. So there. And now to the comments. Nishant says, Hi Vimo, hope this time serves you and us the best. Yeah, the time the time Nishant is talking about is 9:30 p.m. Previously, this podcast used to happen at 10 p.m. every night. Now it is 9:30. The timing may change again, but I've already spoken too much about it, so I shall refrain. Childhood indoctrination says, Hi. क्यों भाई मैंने क्या किया तुम्हारे साथ? Ajay says, Hi Vimo, I'm not late today. That's all right, Ajay. It's not a classroom. You can come anytime you want. Puneet says, Present, sir. अरे यार ये बोला क्लासरूम नहीं है. सब लोग इस क्लासरूम मेटाफर को बहुत आगे ले रहे हैं. बैटमैन बिगिन सेज भारत जोड़ेंगे के बाद कोई इमोजी है जो मुझे समझ में नहीं आ रहा. इज दैट अ डोडो? Sumit says, Hey Vimo, hope you're well. Hi Sumit, yes, I'm okay. Manmat says, Bharat Jodo has started off good. Will be great if they maintain tempo till Kashmir. Let's hope so. Let's hope so. In any case, the prime motivation behind this has to be symbolic, right? So I think just the fact that it has started is a good thing, and I don't think they're going to end it anytime soon. It's going to take a long time, and it's going to traverse India, and hopefully it has political consequences. Although also, even though Congress is saying that this is not political, I think everything is political. This also is political, and there is no reason why it should not be political. I was listening to an interview with Yogendra Yadav on Arfa Khanam Sherwani's YouTube video on The Wire today, and it was quite moving. I would recommend that you go watch it also. Go to the Wire channel, and it's one of the recent videos. Arfa Khanam Sherwani is interviewing Yogendra Yadav, who's in Kanyakumari right now, starting the yatra. So let's see. Kavan says hello. Manish says hello. मूड क्या है सर? श्रीलंका से भी हार गया. श्रीलंका से कौन हार गया? भाई मैं क्रिकेट नहीं देखता हूँ. आई हैव नो इंटरेस्ट इन क्रिकेट. निशांत सेज आपके यहाँ भी ऐसे हुआ है क्या कि ये सो कॉल्ड भक्त आईडी के मैदान में गणेश स्थापना करना, ईद के मैदान में गणेश स्थापना करना चाहती है? इट्स वेरी क्लियर दैट इज अ पॉलिटिकल मूव रादर देन अ रिलीजियस वन. सावरकर बैनर्स. Yeah, obviously it's a political move, and I would even say it's a Hindutva move because it is that there is no distinguishing between what these guys like. They are using Hinduism to impose their politics on everyone. So yeah, it's political. दीपेंद्र सर, शेव श्वेताब गंगवार के बारे में आपका क्या ओपिनियन है? दीपेंद्र, मेरा कोई ओपिनियन नहीं है. मुझे सोशल मीडिया ड्रामा में फंसना ही नहीं है. मैं ना श्वेताब गंगवार को जानता हूँ, ना दूसरे आदमी से कुछ ज़्यादा खास अच्छे रिलेशंस हैं. उनको आपस में जो करना है कर लो, मुझे फ़र्क नहीं पड़ता, एंड आई एम नॉट इंटरेस्टेड. Childhood indoctrination says Yogendra Yadav is a gem. That is true. I would agree with you. And before we go to other comments, I will just remind people that this podcast is sponsored by you. If you want to continue supporting this podcast, click the join button and become a member. Also, if you want to support this podcast, you can send super chats. That is also available. If you want to, you can go on any video on this channel and click the thanks button under any video and leave a one-time donation. And doing this will help the podcast grow. If you want to support the podcast on Patreon, you can do so at patreon.com/vimo, VIMOH. You can make a monthly or an annual pledge. And if you don't want to do that, you can simply go to my blog, which is at vimo.stck.me, and you can click the support button and make a one time donation. I'm pretty much a full time content creator right now, and your contributions help me run this show. That is my primary mode of income. So let me know if you want to become a member. I mean, become a member and then let me know that you have done so. Batman Begins has posted something about cricket. I really don't care that much about cricket. In fact, I don't care about cricket at all. So maybe not do this. पुनीत से स्पॉन्सर्ड बाय अमृतांजन। अरे आज सिर दर्द ठीक है, कल एक्चुअली बहुत देर तक सर दर्द हुआ। मैं सो गया, आई थॉट लाइक बस जल्दी सोता हूँ, पीसफुली सोऊंगा, एंड आई पुट माई हेड अंडर अ पिलो एंड आई वेंट टू स्लीप, एंड व्हेन आई वोक अप द हेडेक वाज स्टिल देयर एंड आई वाज लाइक ah shit, सो के कुछ फ़ायदा नहीं हुआ। एंड देन आई रियलाइज्ड इट वाज मिडनाइट। आई हैड स्लेप्ट फॉर 1.5 hours व्हेन आई वोक अप बिकॉज़ ऑफ द हेडेक। देन आई स्लेप्ट अगेन, then I woke up again 1 hour later, then I slept again, and when I woke up at 5 this morning, the headache was mostly gone. So yeah. Shubham says, please invite Science Journey. To what? साइंस जर्नी के साथ मैं कोलैब कर रहा हूँ अगले हफ्ते या उसके बाद वाले हफ्ते, हो सकता है हमारे 2 वीडियो आ जाएँ, देख लेना तब। चाइल्डहुड इंडोक्ट्रिनेशन सेज, कास्ट को लेकर मेरी समझ में संजय राजौरा और योगेंद्र के वीडियोस से बहुत हेल्प हुई थी, स्पेशली संजय। ओके। श्रेयस है स्पॉन्सर्ड बाय पतंजलि दंत कांति। अरे क्यों उनको फालतू में क्यों उनको फालतू में प्रमोशन कर रहे हो? द बैटमैन बिगिंस says Selena Gomez's calm down song and Vimo live at the same time. Hmm. Good that you're listening to it separately because I can't play copyrighted music on the live stream. Hello, hello, being human. Nishan says, one moment of surprise. This video is sponsored by Adani. What? Where? What? अच्छा, you guys are seeing ads क्या? अच्छा, YouTube प्रीमियम ले लो, ad नहीं लिखने पड़ेंगे. Sumit says, who do you think would be the face of BJP in 2024 election? Face of BJP in 2024 election? Do they have a choice? Like, I'm no one to make decisions on the behalf of BJP, but do they even have a choice? Because one thing that a lot of people are actually not talking about, I mean, sure, the BJP has done a lot of bad things to a lot of political parties, including its own allies. But the BJP has not done very great good things for itself either. It is not healthy for any political party to have one face dominating everything. Because I hope the BJP realizes, I hope there are well wishers of the political party who understand how much damage reliance on Narendra Modi is doing to the party. Promotion नरेंद्र मोदी का हो रहा है, बीजेपी का नहीं हो रहा है. If Narendra Modi stops being the face of the party, does the party have anything to offer? They don't have a choice. They have put all their eggs in one basket. So I don't think in 2024 they can have any face other than Narendra Modi. They don't have a choice. They have trapped themselves in a corner. Manish says Science Journey will explain you how much science is Buddhism. What? I don't think Science Journey will do that. I have seen his videos. I know him reasonably well. I don't think he is. I don't think he has any soft corner for any religion. Shreya says, कहीं चश्मा तो नहीं लग गया आपको? आई रिमेंबर मुझे एग्जैक्टली उसी स्पॉट पे पेन हुआ था जब मेरी आईज का नंबर आया था. हम्म. नहीं, आई थिंक दैट इट वाज जस्ट समथिंग टेम्पररी. आई एक्चुअली डोंट हैव एनी प्रॉब्लम विथ माय आईज. In my entire extended family, I'm the only person to not wear glasses. Although maybe the time has come. I'm turning 40 next year. Maybe the time has come. चाइल्डहुड इंडोक्ट्रिनेशन से सारे न्यूज़ चैनल कम पड़ गए पतंजलि के लिए. यहाँ पे ऐड आ रहा है क्या? अच्छा, तुम लोग को ऐड दिख रहा है. ओके. बैटमैन बिगिंस सेज, टुडे पीयूष गोयल क्लेम्ड मोदी जी इज इनकार्नेशन ऑफ गॉड. या ये हिंदुओं का कभी अपमान नहीं होगा. हिंदुओं को इस बात से बिल्कुल अपमान नहीं होगा कोई अगर ऐसा बोलेगा तो. अजीब लोग हैं. Zia says, strange scenario, Vimo, but if you were asked to only keep one hobby in your life, which would it be? Writing or reading or something else? Writing or reading? That's hard. I think reading and writing together make the same, like cover the same aspect of life. If you had to, if you put writing and reading on one side, social media and the internet on the other side, I will choose writing and reading. No question about it. it will get rid of all my income from social media, but I'll still choose writing and reading. There is no question about it. But reading and writing are not diametrically opposite options that I should have to choose between. बिकॉज दे आर द सेम थिंग एसेंशियली, दिमाग का लिटरेचर के साथ एंगेजमेंट. डैंक सेज व्हाट अबाउट योगी एज फेस ऑफ बीजेपी? और भी अच्छा, पार्टी को और ज्यादा बर्बाद कर लो. योगी आदित्यनाथ को बीजेपी की नेशनल पार्लियामेंट्री कमेटी से बाहर रखा गया, which means that their decision is to keep him out. So I have no say in it, nor does any political party. योगी आदित्यनाथ के करियर को कोई और पार्टी बर्बाद नहीं कर रही है, बीजेपी बर्बाद कर रही है. So if Yogi Adityanath is someone who has aspirations of being the prime ministerial face of the BJP, the people he is going to have to fight are in the BJP itself. उसमें मेरा क्या करना है? Nishant says 2014 कांग्रेस मुक्त, 2019 बीजेपी मुक्त. श्रेयस सेज मोदी जी ही रहेंगे और क्या, जब तक वो हेल्दी है वही रहेगा, 2029 में शायद भोगी जी बन जाए. अरे क्यों, क्यों उन लोगों को प्राइम मिनिस्टर ऑफिस पकड़ाने में तुले हुए हो? आई एम प्रिटी श्योर 2024 में they will lose to the opposition, a united opposition. There will probably be some kind of a coalition government in power. I know people are going to ask about the prime ministerial face of the opposition. It is an inconsequential question because we are a parliamentary system, not a presidential system. So everyone who asks कौन बनेगा face, they want to run BJP's agenda. The BJP has a face. The opposition does not have a face yet. Maybe they will have a face, maybe they will not have a face. But either way, the BJP is going to lose in 2024. I'm pretty certain of it. Shubham says, Manish, Science Journey never said that he is Buddhist. Oh, Science Journey. I thought you were talking about Science is Dope. Sorry. Yeah, Science Journey does have certain Buddhist undertones. Never said that he is Buddhist. He is atheist. You send his one video to me where he claims that he's Buddhist. Also, I would recommend that if you guys want to fight about Science Journey, do it elsewhere. मैं पहले भी बोल चुका हूँ, मुझे दूसरे यूट्यूब क्रिएटर्स के बारे में गॉसिप अपने चैनल पे नहीं चाहिए. किसी और के बारे में बात करनी है, कहीं और जाके करो, यहाँ पे मत करो. I have no problem with Science Journey, by the way, but I don't want the chat to become a vessel for criticism of his channel that you can do on his channel. मूड क्या है? सेज बीजेपी अभी कहीं नहीं जाने वाला है. एक चैनल है सत्य हिंदी के नाम से, पिछले इलेक्शन से पहले उसका कोई डिबेट हुआ, उठा लो, ऐसे एनालाइज था जैसे बीजेपी पक्का हारेगी लेकिन फिर और ज़्यादा अच्छे से जीत गया. भैया तुम बस डिबेट सुनते हो ना, तुम दूसरी चीज़ों को नहीं देख रहे. द बीजेपी लॉस्ट इट्स शेयर ऑफ उत्तर प्रदेश इन द लास्ट इलेक्शन एंड अखिलेश यादव एंड द ऑपोजिशन इंक्रीज्ड देयर शेयर. आई एम नॉट सेइंग बीजेपी टॉप से बॉटम पे इंस्टेंटली आ जाएगी, पर बीजेपी का डिक्लाइन शुरू हो चुका है एंड बाय 2024 दैट डिक्लाइन विल बी इन अनदर कंडीशन. The people at Satya Hindi are not amateurs. They were looking at groundswell tendencies. The BJP did some things that were unexpected. Instead of doubling down on communalism, they doubled down on ration home delivery. तुम यूट्यूब चैनल्स को देख के अपने पॉलिटिकल ओपिनियंस मत बनाया करो. यूट्यूब चैनल से फीडबैक लो, पर दूसरी चीजों पर भी नजर रखो. Manish says, Vimo, Science Journey has found Big Bang and evolution in Buddhism. Even Haris Sultana said the Science Journey has a soft corner for Buddhism. I know and I don't care. Talk about it elsewhere. Hey, that rhymes. I don't care. Talk about it elsewhere. Maybe that I should put that on a t-shirt. Sumit says, what is your take on pseudo-vegetarianism where people belittle non-vegetarian eating community but never talk about gross brutality in dairy industry? Yeah, it's a good point. Our the traditional Hindu idea of vegetarianism is quite hypocritical. मतलब सोमवार मंगलवार कुछ तो है, हफ्ते के 2 दिन खा सकते हो, बाकी 2 दिन नहीं खा सकते हो. क्यों? उन 2 दिन खाने से क्या होगा? मतलब if you are religious, are you really of the opinion that your God is so stupid he can't tell that you're eating meat on certain days? मतलब ये क्या है, मैं मंडे को खाऊँगा तो भगवान को पता नहीं चलेगा. ट्यूसडे को खाऊँगा, ट्यूसडे को वेजिटेरियन हूँ, मैं नहीं खाता. Ajay says BJP is also sidetracking other party members like Nitin Gadkari in favor of one or two persons. I can't tell how it will affect their performance. I think the BJP is going to, by 2024, I think there are going to be significant number of people inside the BJP who are going to be working against the BJP, and that is because the party has been monopolized by two people. And I'm reasonably certain not everyone in the BJP is happy about it either. Wish says, what apart from writing and reading do you do? What do you think about programming? I don't know how to do programming. That's a weird question. Oddly specific question, in fact. It's like I say, I really like parathas. And you say, what do you think about riding a boat? It's got nothing to do with each other. Shelke Aditya says, I think Modi is expendable as soon as the BJP's control over power is weakened. All the BJP RSS followers will bash him as they're bashing all the opposition. Yeah, I think there is some talk of, and I don't know this for sure, but there is some talk among journalists about there being a rift between Uttar Pradesh BJP and Delhi BJP. So maybe that also can play a role. Hmm. Being Human says, did you notice these days that even study channels like Study IQ, World Affairs, etc., are promoting Modi ji and his policies directly? The BJP has a great outreach program towards YouTubers. Like they reach out to channels and then bring about a subtle shift in their messaging and bring it more in tune with the RSS line of thinking. So मैं says Yogi तो नहीं होगा पर Gadkari can be a pawn where he will be the face of BJP while control rest with RSS core committee. Okay, let's see. अभी तो गडकरी कहीं दूर दूर तक दिख नहीं रहे हैं. All we know is that he has been kept out of the parliamentary committee, but then so has Yogi Adityanath. So I don't know what's going to happen there. Manmat says many Indian atheist channels are online, but most are overtly confrontational, lacking coherence, and having logical flaws. Good that we have Vimo, Pranav, Arpit. How will the situation improve? I don't see. Again, the thing is, I don't want to comment on someone else's approach towards religion or atheism because they may have very good reasons for doing so. I have my approach. It is fueled by my way of looking at things, the way I talk, the way I process things, the way I message. Someone else's method is different. I don't think their method is bad or worse. I don't think my method is better. I don't think our method, Pranav, mine, and Arpit's method is better. It's just our method. So I don't want to fall into a conversation where you pit me against other atheist YouTubers. Don't do that. Mm, wait, I don't want to comment on Science Journey, but this comment is funny. Science Journey has his heart at right places. How many places does he have a heart? He puts much effort, but many times he derails the discussion, honestly saying. Again, I repeat, I don't care. Wish says, I love Rahul Gandhi better than Lord Godi. Oh, anybody should. Anybody would. I don't know why anyone would prefer the latter over the former. The Batman Vegan says, Dear Prem Dulaiya Pal, you have successfully vaccinated what? Nishan says, keeping Yogi out seems that he was just a pawn in the entire game, although he is portrayed as a big face in media. Nazu says, I'm confused. I have Jain friends who seem to also be Hindu. How is that possible? Uh, the same way that the American Republican Party, which is white supremacist for the most part these days, has black members. When when a certain when a certain group is powerful, many people from marginalized backgrounds might find it useful to start belonging to it. I can actually hear my own voice from the other room. Someone in my family is watching the live stream. I will, if you're watching this, please reduce the volume or use earphones because I can hear you. मूड क्या है सेज आप गारंटी दोगे ऑपोजिशन बीजेपी से बेहतर होगा? बिल्कुल दूंगा क्योंकि बीजेपी से ज़्यादा घटिया होना पॉसिबल ही नहीं है. हम बॉटम पे आ चुके हैं ऑन एवरी लेवल, कल्चरली, मॉरली, एथिकली, इकोनॉमिकली, हेल्थ वाइज, इकोलॉजिकली. इससे नीचे जाया नहीं जा सकता. जो भी आएगा इससे तो बेटर ही होगा. Memories of the movie says joining after weeks. Looks like you were away too. Yes, I was away for a little over 2 weeks. A little over 2 weeks I was away for, but I'm back now and I'm feeling better. Hmm. Avinash says, bro, opposition blatantly fascist thodi hai. Yeah, exactly. Which says that is because Jains accepted Brahminical hegemony. Exactly. A minority religion can decide that belonging to the majority hegemony is healthier for it. But that's just, it's like sometimes a woman can be a supporter of patriarchy. Sometimes someone from a marginalized community can belong to. We have Muslim members in the BJP, right? So that is not the point. The point is that when we are opposing a system, it is the system that should be opposed, not the people who are populating it, because some of them may be in that system for reasons that they cannot control. Manmat says Satya Hindi is Ashutosh's channel. The channel and the guy are doing good. Yeah, I like Satya Hindi. In fact, it's one of my most frequently watched channels. Almost every day, I listen to at least a few of their discussions. It's like a podcast for me. Agastya says, what bugs me is that there aren't any good liberal socialist representation in our country. Of course, there are. There are so many. Samajwadi Party, sorry, Samajwadi Party बोल रहा हूँ. RJD, JDU alliance in Bihar is socialist. Akhilesh's party is socialist. The Congress is kind of turning more and more socialist, or at least even like Congress when it was in power, it was at least cognizant of the fact that India is a welfare state. And even Narendra Modi's BJP has to do door-to-door ration delivery, which is the work of a welfare state. Aam Aadmi Party is being criticized for its so-called Revadi culture. What is that? It's welfare. It's giving people essential services like healthcare and education for free, which is totally okay. This is actually how things should be. Healthcare and education should be free for everyone. And India has always had to be a welfare state because we are not a prosperous country. By the way, we are a welfare state because of democracy. If politicians, as Kanhaiya Kumar is likely to point out, if politicians did not have to come to the poor every 5 years to beg for their votes, they would not even care. The fact that they have to care, that the poor live or die, that the poor are provided with ration, etc., is proof that democracy is working. It may not be working to a great level, but it works. Nishant says, Vimo, poet after comic writing. अरे poet बिल्कुल भी नहीं हूँ मैं. I just making verses and becoming a poet are two different things. Hold on, somebody became a member. Who is that? Who is it? Chandranshu Chandil has become a member. Chandranshu, thank you very much for becoming a member. I really appreciate it. I will remind everyone that if you can also become a member by clicking the join button below. If you do, you'll be supporting this podcast, and I will be grateful because I'm a full-time content creator, and I'm a full-time content creator, and this is how I make my living. Thank you, Chandranshu, one more time. Hmm. श्रेयस who's also a member says यूनाइटेड ऑपोजिशन के लिए मैं होपफुल रहता अगर वो सच में यूनाइटेड देखते इवन इफ दे विन नीतीश ममता केजरीवाल साउथ का कोई एक सीएम भी डाल लो इनमें 4 वे फाइट हो जाएगा फॉर द टॉप पोस्ट साय नहीं रे हमको होपफुल रहना चाहिए one thing that happened only yesterday this happened Nitish Kumar went to Delhi and he met three people. One was Rahul Gandhi right before the Bharat Jodo Yatra started. The second was Sitaram Yechuri from the Communist Party and the third was Arvind Kejriwal. And he later did, today I think he did a press conference where he said every party should do its own politics. The only thing to keep in mind is that when BJP pushes an agenda, we should not get in the habit of reacting to it, because when we react to it, it is the BJP's agenda which is being propagated. So Nitish Kumar's advice to all these people was that carry on your own work and focus on your own agenda. So Rahul Gandhi's agenda is Bharat Jodo. He should focus on that. He should not react to jokes about being Pappu. Arvind Kejriwal's agenda is something else, and he should focus on that. He should not worry about what they want him to say. The BJP wins when it baits people and people fall for that bait. So I think United Opposition के लिए 2 महीने पहले इतना hope नहीं था, पर अब है. And I think there is time before 2024 and the United Opposition can indeed take shape and become a force to reckon with. Auguste says, I don't care, talk about it elsewhere. That's another idea for a t-shirt for you. Acha, let me know if you want I don't care, talk about it elsewhere on a t-shirt. Sridhar says, Gandhi should retire now. Congress needs new powerful face. Let's see. I don't think Rahul Gandhi wants to be prime minister, which means that someone else may be the prime ministerial face with Congress support. It could be, some people are saying Nitish Kumar, some people are saying some other people. Let's see. इवन रिसेंटली कांग्रेस का जो इंटरनल इलेक्शन हो रहा था उसमें शशि थरूर apparently was also contesting to be party president. So let's see what happens. श्रेयस says, भगवान वो स्क्विड गेम्स वाला खेल रहे हैं विद भक्स, आंख खुले तो स्टैचू रहना वैसे। मैं स्क्विड गेम नहीं देखा है, स्पॉइल मत करो मेरे लिए, मैं नहीं पढ़ रहा है कमेंट। बैटमैन बिगिंस सेज वेजिटेरियन एंड वीगनिज्म इज स्टुपिडिटी, देखो सब खाओ मॉडरेशन में। एक नेटफ्लिक्स डॉक्यूमेंट्री आती है और सब पागल हो जाते हैं। आई इवन लेफ्ट नॉन वेज बट ऑप्शन नहीं होगा तो खा लूंगा। नहीं रे, vegans have some very good point. It's got to do with animal cruelty. You can't remain you can't remain oblivious to the fact that the industry which is in charge of producing us meat and animal products is extremely cruel on animals. They're kept prisoner, they're tortured, and they're kept alive with torture so that they may become food sources. So उस चीज को ध्यान में रखना चाहिए। श्रीधर लोहार says अमित शाह said उद्धव betrayed him by not allying with him। या मुझे समझ में नहीं आया, द बीजेपी said कि महाराष्ट्र में जो हुआ वो बीजेपी ने नहीं किया है, एंड देन अमित शाह says उद्धव को पनिशमेंट मिलना चाहिए था। साफ साफ बोलो ना, तुमने पनिशमेंट उद्धव को दिया है या नहीं दिया है? बिकॉज ऑन वन हैंड यू आर सेइंग हाँ 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 पनिशमेंट मिला, ऑन द अदर हैंड यू आर सेइंग हमने तो कुछ नहीं किया। सो इट फील्स लाइक he really wants to take credit but he can't. Zia says, I remember you saying once that you don't enjoy watching horror shows, movies, Vimo. Do you happen to enjoy reading horror though? No, not really. I like fantasy and sometimes fantasy has horror elements and that's okay. But specifically horror, I don't like. For that, you have to go to Ashwin, my co-host of the Gutter Space podcast. He's totally into horror. He even writes horror. He's written comic books. Hold on, let me show you Ashwin's website. Right. So this is Ashwin's website. Can you see it? Yeah. So this is Ashwin's website. And hi, I'm Ashwin Kalmani. I write stuff, mostly comics. And then there's a bit about his writing. He wrote for pulpocracies, horror and sci-fi anthologies. And he keeps writing horror also. Here's a list of the books he's done. So this one is horror. This one was kind of sci-fi horror. Then there are some children's books. Then there are some comics he did for Holy Cow, etc., etc., etc. You can visit his website at ashwinkalmane.com, ashwinkalmane.com, and find out more about his work. He does horror work. Avinash says, Sridhar, Gandhis lack any identity except being the nepotistic leaders of Congress, to be honest. I'm not sure if they will want this only significant thing about them to go away. Avinash, in the last couple of months, a number of things have happened because a lot of opposition parties have been facing oblivion. You remember why Nitish Kumar left why Nitish Kumar left the NDA? He left the NDA because well, no, not the NDA. I suppose he left his partnership with the BJP in Bihar government. He left it because a few days before this happened, JP Nadda, the BJP president, had come to Bihar in some place and given a speech where he brazenly said that all regional parties will disappear, only BJP will be there, apparently. So the BJP is not hiding its agenda. They want all parties to disappear and they want to be the only party. In fact, there have been times when Amit Shah himself has said that why should we not think about a single party system? Wait, let me not just say it. I think there is news from 2019. Hold on, let me show you. Share screen. Here, this is from the Telegraph. Amit Shah says people have started questioning the efficacy of the multi-party system in the country. Amit Shah spoke on Tuesday about this is from 17/9/2019. Failure of the multi-party parliamentary democratic system was referring to the years before 2014 and laid stress on the need for 130 crore Indians to move in a coordinated fashion to realize Narendra Modi's vision. The oblique hint at single party democracy came soon after Shah projected Hindi as the best suited one language to unite India, etc., etc., etc. Right. So there was this, and then I think at another time also this had happened. But the BJP, essentially, the point is that BJP is not hiding at all its intention to turn India into a single party thing. They will pay also all kinds of tributes to democracy, but they either want to make all parties so weak that they cannot compete or completely obliterate them. There are so many allies of the BJP who have left the BJP because of the lack of respect. So, uh, in the last couple of months, a lot of political parties have come across a point in their lifetime when they are kind of desperate कि अभी अगर नहीं लड़ेंगे तो सब बर्बाद हो जाएगा. Indian, I was talking to someone and I said the Bharat Jodo Yatra should have happened when anti-CAA protests were happening. But तब political parties को लगता था कि हम लोग कुछ नहीं बोलेंगे तो हम पे कुछ होगा नहीं. So scholars got arrested, students got arrested, so many people got arrested and attacked. And these guys didn't do much. But now that political parties' existence is under threat, there is Bharat Jodo Yatra, there is all kinds of opposition to BJP. Politicians who are not from the BJP are finally realizing that if they don't if they don't stand up and talk back, they're going to not exist anymore. So the Gandhi's desire to remain in charge of the Congress is secondary now. The primary thing is the existence of the Congress. Everyone is fighting an existential battle. I think the BJP has finally pushed everyone to a corner and nobody has any option except to push back. And that is why all this is happening now. Batman Begins says, highway or remove way. I like this attitude. It's a sign of independent thought. Nope. It's just me enforcing the rules of my community on my channel. Sharad says, if it's not personal, how are you planning to handle old age without marriage and children for support? Any thought on marriage laws in India? If it's not personal, it is kind of personal. And the question is actually a little bit triggering also because I have written about this in the past. And I think children, my primary point would be children are not a retirement policy. Children are individuals with their own lives and dreams. Don't have children because you want to use them for your own old age. Similarly, don't marry because you are afraid of being alone. Marry when you find someone you love. That is my philosophy in life. As for being old, everyone is miserable in their old age. Even people with children and grandchildren are miserable in their old age. I know several such old people myself. So that is not a thing that is a factor in my decision to not marry. Lalit says, who controls the past controls the future. Who controls the present controls the past. From the book 1984 is highly relevant today. Being Human says, do you believe Congress and Aam Aadmi Party would come to a mutual agreement to fight against the BJP, or will they be rivals as they are now and indirectly help the BJP instead? They have done so in the past, right? In the past, the Congress and the Aam Aadmi Party have, uh, you know, come together against the BJP. I think this was Delhi elections. Yeah, yeah. They have partnered before and they can partner again. In fact, that is not even a barometer. Parties which are at odds with each other have partnered with each other. So that is not a thing. I think one possibility might be that a united opposition wins the election and they choose a prime ministerial face, which can be from any party, and that entire government comes to exist with the support of the Congress. Because Rahul Gandhi, like if you put all the politicians in front of me with their prime ministerial agendas, Mamta Banerjee, Nitish Kumar, Arvind Kejriwal, etc., Rahul Gandhi stands out as the guy who actually does not want to do it. So he will have no problem putting the weight of the Congress behind another candidate. Shelki Aditya says, can you suggest some books regarding Odia and Bengali history, 18th century, as I am eager to read how Maratha rulers influenced Odia and Bengali history? Shelki Aditya, you should probably consult a historian or search on Amazon for Bengal, history of Bengal, because books का नाम वैसे मुझे off the top of my head याद नहीं आ रहा. What I remember is what I have studied in college. Which says Aam Aadmi Party is an RSS stooge. Yeah, it does seem like that sometimes, but we shall see. We shall see. Muhammad says in a sane universe, Lord Godis are disqualified running from the PM post, but ours is a Vishwaguru universe. Rules are different. Sumana says, after my parents visited me, my 3-year-old daughter has started asking what is puja, what is God. I just said some people believe in something called God. They pray to them and ask for their help. So I think these are important questions that you need to give decent answers to, because otherwise she will become curious and she might try to find answers elsewhere. You can, like, if they ask what is God, you can expose her to multiple religions. And then she will know that there are so many options. And then there is a fourth option, which is no religion, which is you. Uh, How do I explain concept of God to 3-year-old? Give it time. Show her, expose her to multiple religions is my advice. Nishan says, consider this: you are benefited by some government scheme, but you find that government supports something bad. Now, speaking against government is seen as you are of ill mind. Can't people differentiate between the two? Uh, well, I personally see different people have different priorities, and to some extent, what has happened is that nationalism has been turned, like Rabindranath Tagore said, nationalism is an anesthetic. Nationalism is an anesthetic that has been injected into the people to make them think that the nation is primary and that they are secondary, and to make them forget that they are actually the nation. So when people find that they are suffering a little bit, they say that हाँ हम लोग संभाल लेंगे, देश का भला होना चाहिए, जबकि देश का एक्चुअली भला हो नहीं रहा है, बस बोला जा रहा है. Puneet says Kavita Krishnan left CPIML. What is your view on this? She's a great woman. I think she has made a decision to leave her political party and focus on some other stuff. I don't really have an opinion on this. People make career decisions all the time. Avinash says, how socialist is Samajwadi Party? I'm not sure if they even adhere to socialist principles. Well, I don't think any political party adheres to the principles that it is founded on. Political parties are usually opportunist, and Samajwadi Party is probably not very different from it. But I hope that you and I at least have consensus on the fact that they're better than the BJP at least. Wish says, but Congress gave free ration and all that in a calculated way, unlike BJP, which gives every election free ration for votes. My point is that everyone does give it. When they do it is a different matter. The Batman Begins says, whenever I watch Satya Hindi, Ashutosh memes of मैं मोदी जी से प्रार्थना करता हूँ बंद करो. Sumit says, आपकी रेवड़ी रेवड़ी हमारा रेवड़ी लड्डू. Dragoon says, I think what they meant by popular figure is famous personalities like Sai Deepak, Anand Ranganathan, and many other Indic wing figures whose shots and videos are always prominent. I think the reason they're prominent in front of you is because you're not hiding them. मुझे तो दिखते हैं मैं hide कर देता हूँ so that I get exposed to other things. If you're not hiding anything on your YouTube page, YouTube will continue recommending more of it, assuming that you like it. So be a little more judgmental in your choice of videos. अगर कोई वीडियो नहीं देखना है, अगर तुमको एक वीडियो दिखता है जिसको तुम नहीं देखना चाहते, click on it and choose the क्या do not recommend channel option. मैं तो वही करता हूँ, and that increases the chances of me looking at good stuff. Addict listener says, I read somewhere online that real victim of patriarchy are male, so it's the truth. Is there any strong argument to support that statement? I don't think the real victim of patriarchy are male, but I think men are the victims of patriarchy. Patriarchy is an oppressive system that assigns roles. It gives men the role of, uh, you know, the holder of power, and it gives women the secondary role. So women suffer because of it. But many men also suffer because of it, because patriarchy turns them into criminals. It turns them into abusers and oppressors. So, in that perspective, perhaps it is right to say that men can also be victims of patriarchy. But I would not say they're the main victims of patriarchy. The main victims of patriarchy are people who are being oppressed by patriarchy, and that's mostly women and, you know, people from non-binary, non-heterosexual genders, non-heterosexual males. पुनी सेज ये रेवड़ी वाला पॉइंट इतना ऑफेंसिव लगता है भाई, टैक्स का पैसा है, वी पेड फॉर, ये एग्जैक्टली। किसी ने नरेंद्र मोदी का ही पुराना वीडियो शेयर किया था कि रेवड़ी रेवड़ी मतलब क्या, पैसे दिए कहते हुए मामा के घर से लाए थे क्या? सब ये भारतीय टैक्स पेयर का पैसा है जो भारतीय टैक्स पेयर के पास वापस आ रहा है। Sumana says it's better parents explain than someone else. As an atheist, I'm okay if my child chooses to be religious. All I care about is how her actions would be. Yeah, that is true. Your child should have multiple options in front of her, and they should not get indoctrinated into a religion without any other choice. And after that, it's their choice. But your child is too young, so you can probably guide them a little more. Apurv says, do you think nationalism is a burden? Maintaining the imaginary pride and flag, etc., takes so much energy. Yeah, I do think so. Apurv says the best things from every corner should be accepted instead of trying to glorify historical things. Ronak says Harry Potter wala emoji dala hai. Vikas says whenever religious people hear about evolution or any scientific discovery, their skeptical mind suddenly switched on and starts questioning science, which is good. But just after that, they believe in flying monkey, donkey, etc. Chandrancho says, "Yo, my first membership. Yay! Glad to be your first platform, man. Welcome." Avinash says, "I don't know, man. Savarkar to चिड़िया पे बैठ के उड़ता था." I think that may have been written more poetically than it is being interpreted. Like I miss my homeland, and a bird came, and he wrote lines about, "I wish I could sit on you and go to my homeland." To which the bird said, "Fuck off. I am not a taxi." Nishant says, "You mean Manmohan Singh type?" Yeah, sure. Why not? That wasn't illegal, right? And Manmohan Singh was an elected representative from, uh, where was it? Assam, I think. Manmat says RGV retro gaming Vimo. I have turned to retro gaming. It's so exciting and affordable. Try games from 1995 to 2010. Windows XP on modest hardware is just enough. Manmat, why are you copy pasting? Why are you copy pasting SMS messages in the chat? Dragoon says sometimes those baits from BJP backfires like that. TN's finance minister. Yeah, that's true. That was a kick-ass interview. Augusta says, Vimo, all the parties you mentioned are relatively better. They seem to lack strong ideology. Aam Aadmi Party gives me hope, but still, let's see. Aam Aadmi Party does not have an ideology. It is focused on welfare, while also, and this needs to be mentioned, remaining silent on RSS activities. Today, Yogendra Yadav was talking to Arfa Khanam Sherwani, and he said that Aam Aadmi Party remains silent on communalism related issues because it fears alienating its Hindu base. And that is something that makes people like us suspect it, rather be suspicious of it. Nazo says, what do you mean by baits? I mean that the BJP tries to set the agenda, right? The BJP will be like, there will be something happening, and the BJP does not want anyone to talk about it. So it will create a distraction. Like, look, right now, boycott Brahmastra is trending apparently. Apparently, that is a priority for us. The IT cell is making a trend, it's trending widely. The actors in the film went to a temple today and they were not allowed to enter the temple because apparently one of the actors is a beef eater, because yeah, these guys care a lot about that. These are all created issues. So they will create an issue. They will get their Godi media channels to have debates about the issue. They will get opposition parties to comment on the issue so that all the national attention goes to that thing. And nobody talks about unemployment, the economy, communalism, China entering India's borders, and all that. So there are problems there. These are the baits that they throw, and everyone falls for it. So the thing that I was talking about, what Nitish Kumar told the leaders who he met in Delhi, was that don't fall for this bait. Do your own positive politics. Focus on the issues that you believe are correct, and don't let the BJP decide what we are going to talk about. K says these parties are not socialist. Just giving some services is not socialist. The closet closest to a party that actually provides some welfare, nutrition, education, healthcare will be left governments in Kerala. Yeah, I'm not saying everyone is on the same level, right? But I'm saying they're better than the BJP. Agastya says also the idea of welfare isn't actually exactly socialist. It's a compromise. Close enough. The Batman Begins says, Vimo, when will Mama Earth sponsor you and you wash your face with Mama Earth face wash on a live podcast? Hopefully never. But by the way, are you implying that I need face wash? Because I don't think there's enough light on my face to. Okay, I haven't shaved for 1 day and I get to hear this. Sudipta says, I hear you're engaging with the Cosmere. With you, there is a chance 6 months later you will launch a channel called Vimo Cosmere Lore. Are nahi. I'm actually going to launch a channel about fantasy, and I have already recorded one, two, three, four videos of it. But I'm going to create a bank of content before I launch it. It's going to be about writing fantasy and making fantasy and commentary about fantasy. So maybe there's going to be book stuff there, and I'm also going to use it to build up apprehension, not apprehension, build up, uh, you know, interest for my upcoming fantasy novel. So let's see. अश्विन सेज अरे अश्विन आ गया क्यों ये सब टाइम पास कर रहे हो वेबसाइट दिखा के दिस इज अश्विन पीपल उसी का वेबसाइट दिखा रहा था अभी अरित्रा सेज डू यू थिंक द फैक्ट दैट प्लांट्स हैव लाइफ बट डोंट शो ह्यूमन लाइक इमोशंस is the reason why this empathy argument works for veganism because even a plant is highly diseased no one would care. I think there is evidence to suggest that plants do not experience pain in the same way as animal life forms do. If anyone thinks that they do, please let me know. Because I have had conversations with vegans and they produce scientific literature to prove that plants can't experience pain. So, yeah. Ajay says today there were also raids on various party offices. Looks like reaction to Bharat Jodo. Of course, इनको एक ही काम आता है डराना और फंसाना तो वही करेंगे. Being Human says, not a vegan yet, but I'm thankful for speaking up for veganism. The cruelty animals face just for our taste buds is supremely unjustifiable. If our survival is at stake only, then it's justified, else not. Yeah. And one of the arguments presented by are people who disagree with vegans is that is a completely vegan diet is not affordable for many people. And vegetarianism and veganism are topics in India that are at least to a certain degree colored by caste. Because we have all seen upper caste Hindus being vegetarian supremacists, but they're not vegan. I agree. But we have also seen a political climate where people get murdered for the suspicion of possessing beef. So vegetarianism is not as benign a subject in India as many people in the West might think it is. Kiran says plants are not sentient. Sentience is the distinction between animals and plants. Not that plants don't show human like emotions, also, plants don't have pain receptors. Yeah, that was the point. Wish says, I live in Gurgaon. BJP will definitely lose Haryana. Nishant says, one nation, one Phalana Dhimkana sounds like China's single party thing. It will be very difficult in India to achieve. People do love the regional language and culture, especially in the south of India. Yeah, that's true. In fact, one of the greatest opposing forces to Hindutva has been the Dravidian movement. It's also atheistic, by the way. Wish says, at least is ruled by proletariat communist. Fascists will destroy this diverse country. Shreya says, मेरी कॉम मूवी का डायलॉग है ना किसी को इतना मत डराओ कि डर ही खत्म हो जाए. That's what BJP finally did. The अब ज़्यादा हो रहा है movement for the opposition. चलो देर आए दुरुस्त है. Yeah, but it's a start. I totally expect problems to arise in the middle. Like before 2024, at least 2 or 3 times you will hear news about opposition unity टूट गई, बिखर गई, अलग हो गए ये नेता, टूट गया वो पार्टी वगैरह वगैरह. वो सब होगा. But at the end, I think the end result is going to be good. Wish says, "Uff, पानी की बोतल." which says, I am religious, but I come here to balance my mind just like balancing the boats. Good. That is what I expect from people. आकाश से सबसे ज्यादा रेवड़ी मोदी ने बांटी है। वन, सिलेंडर फ्री में। दो, अंबानी अडानी का बिलियंस ऑफ डॉलर्स का कर्जा माफ। तीन, ईडब्ल्यूएस रिजर्वेशन। तीन के बाद तीन है फिर से। फ्री राशन टू विन यूपी इलेक्शन। चार, फ्री जियो सिम। पर फ्री जियो सिम मोदी ने थोड़ी बांटा, तो अंबानी ने बांटा ना। नाजू सेज भारत जोड़ो यात्रा बेटर लेट देन नेवर। या एग्जैक्टली। हैशटैग भारत जोड़ो यात्रा। अविनाश सेज ईडब्ल्यूएस रिजर्वेशन बुरा आइडिया है क्या? इसके ऊपर लंबा चलेगा अभी बोलूंगा तो। एंड आई डोंट हैव द टाइम बिकॉज वी आर ऑलरेडी एट 10:20। और 10 मिनट बाद लाइव स्ट्रीम खत्म करो, फिर कभी बात करेंगे। मूड क्या है सेज, आपको पता है बिहार के बदहाली का कारण क्या है? यही रेवड़ी कल्चर, सब्सिडी वगैरह, रेवेन्यू खर्च बहुत होने लगा। लालू के टेन्योर में कैपिटल इन्वेस्टमेंट नहीं हुआ। नहीं, बिहार की बदहाली का कारण है, देखो किसी भी स्टेट या किसी भी गवर्नमेंट की बदहा के अंडर जो लोग हैं उनकी बदहाली का कारण मिसमैनेजमेंट होता है। बट पीपल गेटिंग हेल्थ केयर एंड एजुकेशन फॉर फ्री इज ऑलवेज अ गुड थिंग, स्पेशली इन अ कंट्री लाइक इंडिया। तुम इस बात के ऊपर रोना करोगे कि गरीबों को खाना मुफ्त में मिल रहा है, पर कितनी बार तुमने इस बात पे रोना किया है कि देश की 90% प्रॉस्पेरिटी दो लोगों के पास है? We have somehow accepted that that is normal, but we are worried when people who don't have food, people who don't have homes, they get something for free. We are saying नहीं, थोड़ा ज़्यादा हो रहा है। बट आज तक किसी ने, जो भी ये पॉइंट रेज करता है, कोई ये बात नहीं उठाता कि देश का 90% पैसा दो लोगों के पास है और ज़्यादा देश का पब्लिक प्रॉपर्टी बेच बेच के उनके पॉकेट्स को भरा जा रहा है। वो किसी को abnormal नहीं लगता। ये सिचुएशन सुधर सकती है अगर तुम किसी ऐसे व्यक्ति को लोगे जिसके पास 300-400 लाख करोड़ रुपए हैं और उससे सब कुछ ले जाओगे और उसके पास $1 बिलियन छोड़ दोगे, वो भूख से नहीं मरेगा। वो आराम से नॉर्मल जिंदगी जिएगा। हम में से कई लोगों के पास $1 बिलियन नहीं है, पर वो जो पैसा जो सरप्लस उसके पास है वो अगर डिस्ट्रीब्यूट हो उन लोगों में जिसके पास नहीं है पैसा, तो सबकी हालत सुधर जाएगी। किसी एक व्यक्ति को ये हक नहीं है, वो किसी इकोनॉमी का 90% हिस्सा पकड़ कर बैठे और बाकी जो 10% बचे, उसके ऊपर तुम और मैं झगड़ा करें, ये बोल-बोल के ये थोड़ा ज़्यादा हो रहा है। उसको ज़्यादा मिल गया, मुझे कम मिला, पर हम दूसरी तरफ घूम के कभी देखेंगे नहीं। और यही है कैपिटलिस्ट प्रोपेगेंडा। Sumit says BJP have slowly inflicted a lot of damage to their own self, but Aam Aadmi Party is best at using BJP's toolkit of raiding opposition by turning it into their own advantage. Yeah, the propaganda game Aam Aadmi Party plays very well. Congress not so much, at least till now. It has done more good to Aam Aadmi Party than to BJP. Apurv says also, did you read MF Justice Gupta's comments? What can we do about it? Wait out his term. I don't know what we can do about it. I suppose there have been Supreme Court judges before with problematic views. There are High Court judges also all over the place who have problematic views. And the criticism of them has to come from the legal community. And I think plenty of lawyers are raising it right now. Abhinav says nationalism is the opium of masses. El Bukov. Being Human says, do you see Aam Aadmi Party's soft Hindutva politics as a good thing to counter BJP's hardline narrative, or will it only strengthen the BJP? It will not strengthen the BJP, but it will strengthen Hindutva. And that is the problem with it. Any political party which is against the BJP has to necessarily be against the RSS and Hindutva. If the Aam Aadmi Party is not making enough noise on that front, it can still win an election based on its welfare schemes, etc. But it's still not going to be a departure from the problems that the BJP is creating. Shreya says, have you heard about Palki Sharma Upadhyay leaving WION? She is one of the best journalists I've seen in recent times. WION is a Z News channel, right? क्या बोल रहे हो बे? Sharad says, you mentioned that children are individuals but not to be used for any selfish interest like old age support. I agree. But is there any non-selfish reason for having children intentionally? If you're talking about, what is that phrase? What is that thing where people advocate not having babies? Is there any non-selfish reason for having children intentionally? Uh, sure, it brings you joy. I guess that's also selfish, but at least it's not using children. If you're having kids with the goal of bringing up a capable individual who will live life to the fullest and do good for society, then that's great. If you are having children in hopes that when you are old and infirm, they will stay at home and take care of you, then that's selfish. That's what I'm saying. Puneet says Mulayam Singh Yadav of Samajwadi Party once said after a rape incident that लड़कों से गलती हो जाती है. He hasn't apologized for that yet, and no politician has asked for one. I do think that plenty of people raised the issue when he did say so, and he may not have apologized for it, but yeah, he did say so, and it was obnoxious. That was not the only thing. I think there was one election where Mulayam Singh Yadav promised that if we come to power, we will ban English and computers. And the next election, his son, while contesting the election, was distributing laptops. So elections and the political promises made there have ceased to surprise me. They haven't surprised me for a long time. वहाँ पे कोई भी कुछ भी प्रॉमिस कर देगा. मूड क्या है says राहुल गांधी पीएम बनना डिजर्व भी नहीं करता. क्यों नहीं करता डिजर्व? अगर नरेंद्र मोदी करता है तो राहुल गांधी क्यों नहीं करता? अरे August says not true, Vimo. BJP has an ideology, no matter how grotesque it is. So parties can have ideology and they can try to bring their ideology to force even when they participate in the government. Well, at least you and I agree that it is a grotesque ideology. Chandranshu says some people say you didn't see Aristotle or Aryabhatta also. So does that mean they did not exist? Similarly, you haven't seen God also. What will be your response? Nobody is claiming that Aristotle was a magical being who flew in the sky. People say that if suppose you have no evidence for God or a historical person, it is still more likely that a historical person existed because there is nothing in the claim that is logically inconsistent. It is possible for a human being to exist. Aryabhatta was a human being. It is possible for a human being to have existed back in that time. Again, possible. It is possible for human beings to do math. Aryabhatta apparently did math. None of these things are logically inconsistent or impossible. But the definition of God is actually, in many cases, completely impossible. So even if I am withholding belief about Aristotle or Aryabhatta and God, both are not on the same level. One is more likely than the other, right? So that is my response. आकाश says पुनीत बीजेपी लीडर्स का स्टेटमेंट सुने हैं पिछले 7 साल के मुलायम का कमेंट अभी तक याद या एग्जैक्टली आई एम नॉट सेइंग मुलायम सिंह यादव शुड नॉट बी कंडेम्ड फॉर दैट कमेंट ही शुड बी एंड ही वाज आई रिमेंबर दिस but there have been many other comments by people from the ruling party that you don't get to talk about much. Prasenjit says yep, do not recommended option is a good step from YouTube. It keeps some unnecessary stuff away. It keeps a lot of crap away. Dragoon says, oh, I avoid those videos like Kichad. That's why I'm not liking any socio-political videos. Even you, sorry. I was speaking about others in my small social circle. Okay. I understand. It's okay. Maybe you can go like the show on Spotify. Akash says Rahul Gandhi is better than Modi. Akash says Modi doesn't have any vision. He has television. uh, Human says, hi Vimo, see you after a long time. I hope it was a great off. Yes, it was a good off. I wrote a lot and I'm still writing, in fact. Ronak says, today every podcast intellectual people, they talk about spirituality but didn't explain who is that. What is that? What is their explanation? I'm atheist, but explaining them placebo is tough. It's not tough it's tough when they don't want to break away from their childhood indoctrinations. But spirituality doesn't actually have a definition. You can simply ask them, what do you mean by spirituality? And they'll say some random stuff. And then you can say, okay, so how is that different from this other random stuff? I find that conversations about spirituality should actually be had face to face. Because when you don't have conversations face to face, they can always slip away. They'll say, but I meant that and that. आज कोई आया था दूसरे चैनल पे उसने बोला कि What? The Vedas don't mention the Bhagavad Gita and the Vedas don't mention caste. They mention varna. I said that's like saying the Mahabharata does not mention bows and arrows. It mentions dhanush and baan. You're just choosing a word from another language. The end result remains the same. So slippery लोगों से बात करने के लिए face to face बात करना जरूरी है. You can't have a prepared answer that will work on them, which is why I do this. Nazu says, are we doing kids an injustice when we go along with stories of Tooth Fairy, Santa Claus, etc.? No, but you do need to explain to them the difference between reality and fiction. After a certain age, you do need to explain that it's false and made up. Because I have realized that babies are actually quite comfortable understanding the difference between fact and fiction. I have tried it with babies. You tell something, so this is what happened, this mountain and the bear and fight, but this is just a story. Okay, this never happened. And the babies are like, this is just a story. Babies' minds are capable of handling far more nuance than we give them credit for. It is adults who turn into less than spectacular specimens of the human intellect. Nazo says, I did that recently and regretted because I feel I just help reinforce the child's belief in fairy tales. No, you can tell the child how old is the child. That also depends on a lot of things depend on that also. पुनीत says, yeah, बीफ के अगेंस्ट वालों को अगर यूएसए का पासपोर्ट मिल जाए तो तुरंत भाग जाएंगे. Right, so we are at the end, I think. श्रेया सेज मुझे एक्चुअली गलत नहीं लगा ऐसे एक्टर्स को रोकना मंदिर में घुसने से. आइदर डोंट बी रिलीजियस और इफ यू वांट टू बी रिलीजियस देन प्ले बाय इट्स इडियोटिक रूल्स. इनको दोनों नाव में पाँव रखना है. इट्स मार्केटिंग. इट्स अ मूवी बेस्ड ऑन mythological stories, kind of. It's a fantasy. It's a mytho fantasy, I think, Brahmastra. And they were trying to do marketing. I don't blame them for it. Nishan says, I wonder the people who really believe in the distractions and speak up on YouTube, they speak as if they are convinced that Bollywood struggles to glorify Islam. Neither they watch nor let us. Yeah, exactly. No, the goal is to. So, yesterday I was listening to a speech by Brandon Sanderson given at Google. He was talking about a Korean king who came up with the alphabet and wanted to popularize it. Korean scholars of that time said this will end our civilization. And the reason was they thought that if everyone learns to read, it will end our civilization because they were the scholars. It was their job to read to people. So if people learn to read, they will become obsolete. And I was instantly reminded of what happens in India. All that talk in Manusmriti about if a Shudra hears a word of the Vedas, you should pour molten lead into his ears. The goal of the scholarly class in medieval times, and even today, if you're looking at Brahmanical people, is that education should not be given to everyone. That education should be preserved for the privileged few. So when people want to prevent movies about caste atrocities from being telecast, when people want to control what other people watch, it is the same tendency that is at work. It is Brahmanism. It is नहीं हम तुमको वो नहीं देखने देंगे जो वो कहता है जो हम नहीं कह रहे. Get it? Right. So we're at the end of today's live stream. I'll just take a few more comments from members. Shreya says, अचानक मूवी के पहले सारे भगवान याद आते हैं. मंदिर, मस्जिद, दरगाह, चर्च सब चक्कर मार लेते हैं. फालतू के इश्यूज हैं ये. Just like politicians doing religious photo ops for elections. Manmat says, vegan, my experience 1 month and counting. I'm feeling healthy on rice, lentils, and some veggies. Highly recommend others to do so. It really helped me. Right. Are there any comments that I can get to? There are a lot of comments. I won't be able to read all of it. श्रेयस का कमेंट पढ़ता हूँ. इफ आई से बाजू के रूम में चेयर है, यू हैव नो रीजन टू डिसबिलीव मी एज इट इज टोटली पॉसिबल. बट इफ आई से बाजू के रूम में ड्रैगन है, you will have doubts. Same as Aristotle and God. Yeah, exactly. Likelihood is a real thing. Like I made a video sometime about aliens and gods, right? Why do I not believe God and why do I think aliens are possible? Because we have a frame of reference for aliens. If I ask you what is the definition of an alien and you say life on another planet, I have reference. I have this planet. There is a planet in space on which there is life. So it is likely that there is something else like it out there. Right? गॉड का फ्रेम ऑफ रेफरेंस है ही नहीं. कोई तो कहीं से निकाल के कुछ भी मन से बना के बोल रहा है. डेफिनेशन तो दो पहले. Right. So we are kind of at the end. I will read a couple of more comments, but before that, I'll just remind everyone if you want to support this show, You can click the join button below and become a member of this channel, or you can send a super chat in the chat, or you can go to any video on this channel and click the thanks button under it to leave a one time donation. If you do that, I'll be grateful, because my podcast is, at the end of the day, sponsored by you. If you want to support this podcast on Patreon, you can do so at patreon.com/Vimo. You can make a monthly pledge or an annual pledge. If you want to support it on a one-time basis, you can do so at my blog, which is at vimo.stck.me. And if you want to buy merch and support me, you can do that at kadakmerch.com/vimolive. There are t-shirts, hoodies, and mugs there. And you can go check it all out at kadakmerch.com/vimolive. And if you want to listen to audio versions of this podcast, you can do so at www.vimo.in. There's a website. There are all the audio episodes of the show available there. And you also get links to all the apps on which the podcast can be listened to. Just go to www.vimo.in. And with that, we get to the last few comments. But before that, wait. Music. Music. Yes, music. थोड़ा और ज़्यादा. Yes. Last few comments. Shreya says, किसी को एथिस्ट बनना नहीं पड़ता, रिलीजियस बनाना पड़ता है. ऑल बेबीज आर एथिस्ट. तो इन अ वे उन सारे फॉर्मर बेबीज की घर वापसी करवानी चाहिए. Raccoony friend says, sorry for the last minute question. Do you use latex for your writing or use Word? In case you use some other text editor, would you tell which one? I use a web app called forthewords.com for writing the novel. And I also use Notion on my desktop to organize the world building, the map, the character profiles, and everything. And I also have there's something called Typora. It's a markdown editor. You should check it out. It's very nice. Typora, Typora. Right. So with that, we reach the end of today's episode. I thank everyone who's here, and I will see you tomorrow at 9:30 p.m. And we will do our regular live stream. And tomorrow, I think I might take callers also, because why should I only talk for 1 hour? You guys also come and do some of the labor. Hello, I'll see you tomorrow. Good night.